Stellantis has just dropped a bombshell, shaking the entire automotive industry to its core. The end of Dodge, one of the most iconic names in American car history. Fans are reeling and the industry is in turmoil. This isn't just about losing a car brand, it's about the collapse of a cultural icon. Dodge is being erased in the midst of Stellantis' desperate bid to survive a crisis so deep it could take down the entire company. How could this happen to a brand as legendary as Dodge? What mistakes brought Stellantis to this breaking point? And most importantly, what does this mean for you? Let's dive into this crisis to uncover the truth behind Dodge's downfall. End of the road. The automotive world was rocked by Stellantis' shocking announcement. Dodge, the iconic muscle car brand, is being phased out. This decision marks the end of an era for a brand that has been synonymous with raw power, roaring engines, and American freedom. Dodge's legendary Charger and Challenger, symbols of performance and rebellion, are now facing extinction. This isn't just a business decision, it's a statement about the direction Stellantis is taking. The company has been struggling under immense financial pressure, and its leaders believe cutting Dodge is a necessary sacrifice to stay afloat. As Stellantis pivots toward electric vehicles and sustainability, it seems the days of gas-guzzling V8 engines are officially over. For Dodge fans, this announcement is devastating. How could a brand with such a rich history and loyal following be abandoned so easily? And why now, at a time when Dodge was finally starting to innovate? Dodge's power fade. The problems behind Dodge's demise run deep, starting with Stellantis' financial struggles. The company is pouring billions into EV development while dealing with rising production costs, supply chain disruptions, and a fiercely competitive market. In this battle to stay relevant, Stellantis has decided to cut what it sees as dead weight, and Dodge, with its declining sales and old-school image, was first on the chopping block. But there's more to the story. Dodge's identity as a muscle car brand has become a liability in a world increasingly focused on sustainability and efficiency. The brand's reliance on high-performance V8 engines clashes with new emissions regulations and consumer demand for greener alternatives. Even Stellantis' attempts to modernize Dodge fell short. The electric Charger Daytona SRT concept, while innovative, failed to generate the excitement needed to save the brand. Stellantis saw the writing on the wall. Dodge's legacy couldn't compete with the demands of the future. The ripple effect. The impact of Dodge's closure reaches far beyond the brand itself. For enthusiasts, this is a cultural loss, a piece of automotive history erased. Fans who grew up admiring the roar of a Challenger or the sleek lines of a Charger now face the end of an era. This decision hits especially hard for communities built around Dodge culture, from muscle car rallies to restoration projects. But the ripple effects don't stop there. Dodge's disappearance leaves a gap in the market for high-performance, affordable vehicles. Competitors like Ford and Chevrolet are already stepping in, eager to claim Dodge's loyal fan base. The end of Dodge also raises questions about Stellantis' other brands. If Dodge can disappear, what's stopping Stellantis from cutting Chrysler or Jeep next? Dodge's financial crossroads. To understand why Dodge was sacrificed, we need to look at Stellantis' larger financial predicament. This multinational corporation has been grappling with a cocktail of challenges: skyrocketing development costs, shifting consumer demands, and fierce competition in an evolving automotive landscape. At the heart of these challenges lies Dodge, a brand long associated with power and performance, now struggling to find its place in a rapidly electrifying world. One of the key issues is Stellantis' ambitious push toward electric vehicle production. Developing electric vehicles is not just expensive, it is monumentally complex. From sourcing batteries to upgrading production facilities, the costs involved have ballooned to the point where Stellantis has had to make difficult choices about which brands to invest in. Unfortunately, Dodge, with its reliance on high-displacement internal combustion engines, no longer fit into the company's vision for the future. Stellantis also faces rising production costs that stretch across all of its brands. Supply chain disruptions, particularly in the semiconductor industry, have made it harder and more expensive to build vehicles. The pressure to stay competitive while keeping prices attractive has become a balancing act that Stellantis has struggled to maintain. Dodge, with its diminishing sales figures, was seen as a liability that Stellantis could no longer afford to carry. But financial strain is not the only reason Dodge is being discontinued. The brand's image itself has become a problem. In a world increasingly driven by sustainability, Dodge's legacy as a maker of roaring, gas-guzzling cars has become a double-edged sword. While this identity once defined its success, it now limits its ability to adapt to a greener and more technologically advanced market. The EV dilemma. The pivot toward electric vehicles has created challenges that Dodge simply could not overcome. Electric vehicles represent the future of the automotive industry, with governments around the globe pushing stricter emissions regulations and incentivizing manufacturers to transition to zero-emission vehicles. Stellantis, eager to compete with industry leaders like Tesla and General Motors, has made electrification its primary focus. For Dodge, however, the transition to electric vehicles was anything but smooth. Dodge's identity has always been tied to high-performance engines, loud exhausts, and raw driving pleasure. These qualities are difficult to translate into the quiet, efficient world of electric vehicles. Stellantis' attempts to electrify Dodge, such as the introduction of the electric Dodge Charger Daytona SRT concept, were met with mixed reactions. While some enthusiasts were intrigued, many felt the soul of the brand had been lost in the transition. The technical challenges of building high-performance electric vehicles further complicated matters. Dodge's internal combustion engines, like the legendary Hemi V8, were engineering marvels that defined an era. Recreating that level of excitement in an electric platform requires advanced technology and significant investment, neither of which Stellantis was willing or able to commit to Dodge. Adding to these challenges is the skepticism many consumers still feel toward electric vehicles, particularly in the performance market. Concerns about battery range, charging infrastructure, and the overall driving experience have made it difficult for brands like Dodge to convince their loyal customers to make the switch. Stellantis, faced with these obstacles, chose to cut its losses rather than gamble on Dodge's electrified future. Pricing tags. One of the most significant factors contributing to Dodge's decline was its pricing strategy, or lack thereof. Dodge, like many Stellantis brands, struggled to find the right balance between affordability and profitability. This issue became especially apparent as competitors like Ford and Toyota introduced more competitively priced alternatives in the performance and mid-size car markets. Dodge's vehicles have often been priced at a premium, justified by their performance capabilities and brand reputation. However, as consumer preferences shifted toward efficiency and affordability, these higher price points became harder to justify. Stellantis responded by offering significant discounts on Dodge models in an attempt to boost sales, but this approach came with its own set of problems. Frequent and substantial discounts began to erode the perceived value of Dodge vehicles. Consumers started to associate the brand with markdowns, leading to doubts about whether the original prices were ever justified. This perception hurt Dodge's resale value, further discouraging buyers who might have otherwise considered the brand. The pricing strategy also had a ripple effect on dealerships. Many Dodge dealers found themselves stuck with unsold inventory, forcing them to rely even more heavily on discounts to move vehicles off their lots. This created a vicious cycle. As discounts became the norm, consumers grew wary of paying full price, making it increasingly difficult for Dodge to maintain its profit margins. In contrast, competitors like Ford and Toyota managed to offer more consistent pricing that appealed to a wider range of buyers. For example, the Toyota Supra and Ford Mustang provided performance-oriented options at price points that undercut Dodge's offerings. This left Dodge in a precarious position, unable to compete on price or innovation. Dodge versus Stellantis. A deeper issue lies in the fundamental misalignment between Dodge's brand identity and Stellantis' corporate strategy. Dodge's core appeal has always been its ability to deliver unapologetic performance, with cars that embody the spirit of American muscle. Stellantis, on the other hand, has been focused on repositioning itself as a global leader in sustainability and technology. This disconnect became increasingly apparent as Stellantis prioritized other brands within its portfolio. While Dodge was struggling to maintain relevance, Stellantis was pouring resources into more internationally focused brands like Peugeot and Citroën, as well as newer electric vehicle initiatives. Dodge, with its North American-centric identity and niche market, was left behind. The lack of investment in Dodge was evident in its aging product lineup. Models like the Dodge Challenger and Dodge Charger, while iconic, had not seen significant updates in years. This stagnation made it difficult for Dodge to compete in a market where consumers expect innovation and cutting-edge features. Stellantis' reluctance to invest in modernizing Dodge's lineup signaled that the brand was no longer a priority. The misalignment also extended to marketing. Stellantis' messaging around sustainability and electrification often clashed with Dodge's image of high-performance gas-powered cars. This created confusion among consumers, many of whom felt that Stellantis was trying to push Dodge into a role it was never meant to fill. Instead of embracing Dodge's unique identity, Stellantis seemed intent on reshaping it into something unrecognizable. The competitor advantage. While Dodge struggled, its competitors thrived by adapting to the changing market. Brands like Ford, General Motors, and Tesla have successfully positioned themselves as leaders in both traditional and electric vehicle segments. Ford, for example, has managed to maintain the appeal of its Mustang lineup while also introducing electric options like the Mustang Mach-E. This approach allowed Ford to cater to both traditional muscle car enthusiasts and environmentally conscious consumers. Similarly, General Motors has invested heavily in its Chevrolet Camaro and Corvette lines, while making strides in electrification with models like the Chevrolet Bolt. Tesla, with its innovative electric vehicles and aggressive pricing strategies, has set the standard for what the future of the automotive industry could look like. By focusing on range, performance, and cutting-edge technology, Tesla has captured the attention of a new generation of car buyers. In comparison, Dodge's reliance on nostalgia and outdated technology left it unable to compete. While its competitors were evolving, Dodge remained stuck in the past, clinging to an image that no longer resonated with the majority of consumers. Stellantis' decision to end Dodge can be seen as an acknowledgement of this reality, a recognition that the brand was no longer capable of keeping up in an industry that demands constant innovation. The human cost. Beyond the business and market implications, Dodge's demise has a very real human cost. Workers at Dodge manufacturing plants are facing layoffs, and dealerships that relied on Dodge's lineup are grappling with uncertainty. These decisions affect not only the employees, but also the communities that depend on these jobs for economic stability. At the Warren Truck Assembly plant in Michigan, thousands of workers are bracing for the impact of Stellantis' decision. Layoffs and plant closures are becoming an all-too-common reality in the automotive industry, and Dodge's discontinuation adds to this growing trend. For these workers, the loss of Dodge is more than a corporate decision. It is a personal and financial blow that could take years to recover from. Dealerships are also feeling the pressure. With Dodge's lineup disappearing, many dealers are left wondering how they will fill the void. This is particularly challenging for smaller, family-owned dealerships that relied heavily on Dodge sales. The shift toward direct-to-consumer sales, driven by Stellantis' new digital initiatives, only adds to their concerns. For Dodge enthusiasts, the loss is deeply personal. The brand's cars are not just vehicles, they are symbols of freedom, individuality, and rebellion. Losing Dodge feels like losing a part of American automotive culture, a sentiment that has sparked protests, petitions, and calls for Stellantis to reconsider its decision. Impact on workers. The decision to discontinue Dodge has set off a chain reaction, with devastating consequences for thousands of workers tied to the brand. Manufacturing plants, dealerships, and local economies built around Dodge's production are now facing an uncertain future. While Stellantis grapples with its corporate strategy, the people on the ground are bearing the brunt of these changes. At the heart of this fallout are the manufacturing workers, individuals who have dedicated years, even decades, to building the cars that made Dodge an icon. Take the Warren Truck Assembly plant in Michigan, where many Dodge models have been produced. Up to 2,000 workers face layoffs due to the decision to cease Dodge production. For these workers, the news is not just a corporate decision, it is a personal and financial crisis. For many families, these jobs were more than just a paycheck. They represented stability, opportunities for advancement, and a connection to the automotive heritage that Michigan is so deeply tied to. Losing these jobs means more than lost income. It is a blow to the communities that relied on the factory for economic vitality. Local businesses, from diners to supply shops, are already feeling the ripple effects of reduced employment in the area. The United Auto Workers Union has stepped in, advocating for those affected by the layoffs. However, the tension between Stellantis' pivot to electric vehicles and the job losses associated with this shift has created a deep rift. Workers feel abandoned, left behind in a rapidly changing industry that seems to prioritize innovation over the people who made brands like Dodge a success in the first place. Dealership dilemmas. The shutdown of Dodge also spells trouble for the vast network of dealerships that have depended on the brand for sales and service revenue. Dodge's lineup, particularly the Challenger and Charger, has been a cornerstone for many dealerships, drawing in customers who often purchase additional vehicles or services. Now, with Dodge being phased out, dealerships are left scrambling to fill the void. This is no easy task. Stellantis' other brands, such as Jeep and Chrysler, cannot fully replace Dodge's unique appeal and customer base. Moreover, Dodge enthusiasts are unlikely to transition seamlessly to these brands, leaving dealerships with a shrinking pool of loyal customers. This uncertainty is compounded by Stellantis' push toward direct-to-consumer sales. The company's new digital marketplace initiative, Stellantis and You, aims to reduce reliance on traditional dealerships by allowing customers to purchase vehicles online. While this shift aligns with broader industry trends, it further marginalizes dealerships, leaving them with fewer resources and less influence in Stellantis' sales strategy. For small, family-owned dealerships, the stakes are even higher. These businesses often lack the financial buffers of larger dealership networks, making them especially vulnerable to the economic impact of Dodge's discontinuation. Many are already feeling the strain, with some considering scaling back operations or closing their doors entirely. Competitors seizing the opportunity. As Dodge exits the stage, its competitors are moving quickly to claim the brand's former market share. Ford, General Motors, and even electric vehicle manufacturers like Tesla are capitalizing on Dodge's absence, offering alternatives that appeal to both traditional Dodge customers and a broader audience. Ford, for instance, has expanded its Mustang lineup to include the electric Mustang Mach-E, catering to consumers looking for a blend of performance and sustainability. This strategic move allows Ford to maintain its foothold in the muscle car market while also attracting environmentally conscious buyers. Similarly, General Motors has doubled down on its Chevrolet Camaro and Corvette lines, introducing updates that keep these models competitive in a rapidly evolving market. Even more disruptive is Tesla, whose electric vehicles have redefined what performance can look like. The Tesla Model S Plaid, for example, delivers jaw-dropping acceleration that rivals and in some cases surpasses traditional muscle cars. With electric vehicles gaining traction, Tesla is well positioned to capture the attention of younger buyers who might have once considered a Dodge Challenger or Charger. The midsize car market, where Dodge once held a strong presence, is also seeing increased competition. Brands like Toyota and Honda dominate with reliable, fuel-efficient models that appeal to a wide demographic. Without Dodge in the mix, these competitors are poised to solidify their positions, making it even harder for Stellantis to reclaim lost ground. Consumer trust. Perhaps one of the most significant consequences of Dodge's discontinuation is the erosion of consumer trust in Stellantis as a whole. For years, Dodge has been one of the company's most recognizable and beloved brands. Its loss raises questions about the stability of Stellantis' other brands and the company's long-term vision. For Dodge enthusiasts, the decision to end the brand feels like a betrayal. Many loyal customers have invested in Dodge vehicles not just for their performance, but also for the sense of identity and community that came with owning a piece of automotive history. Now, these customers are left wondering if Stellantis values their loyalty, or if other brands in the company's portfolio could face a similar fate. This distrust extends beyond Dodge enthusiasts. The automotive industry is built on relationships, and Stellantis' decision to phase out Dodge sends a message to all of its customers. No brand is safe. This perception could hurt sales across Stellantis' other brands, such as Jeep, Chrysler, and Alfa Romeo, particularly in a market where consumer confidence is already fragile. Rebuilding trust will be a monumental challenge for Stellantis. The company will need to demonstrate a clear and compelling vision for its remaining brands, one that reassures customers and dealers alike. This includes delivering on promises of quality, innovation, and sustainability while addressing the concerns of those who feel alienated by Dodge's departure. The broader industry impact. The end of Dodge is not just a loss for Stellantis, it is a warning sign for the entire automotive industry. As the market shifts toward electric vehicles and stricter emissions regulations, other legacy brands are likely to face similar challenges. The question is not just whether they can adapt, but whether they can do so without losing their core identities. Dodge's demise highlights the difficulties of balancing tradition with innovation. For decades, Dodge was defined by its high-performance vehicles and unapologetically bold image. These qualities made it a cultural icon, but also limited its ability to evolve in a rapidly changing market. Other brands with strong identities, such as Ford's Mustang or Chevrolet's Camaro, will need to navigate this same tightrope as they transition to electric and hybrid platforms. The competitive landscape is also changing. The rise of electric vehicle manufacturers like Tesla has disrupted traditional market dynamics, forcing legacy automakers to rethink their strategies. While some, like Ford and General Motors, have managed to adapt, others are struggling to keep up. Dodge's discontinuation serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when a brand fails to evolve in a timely and effective manner. At the same time, the push toward electric vehicles raises broader questions about the future of the automotive industry. As automakers invest billions in electrification, they are also facing challenges related to affordability, infrastructure, and consumer adoption. These issues will need to be addressed if the industry is to achieve its ambitious goals of reducing emissions and transitioning to a more sustainable future. The cultural void left by Dodge. Dodge's disappearance leaves a significant cultural void in the automotive world. For many enthusiasts, the brand represented freedom, individuality, and the thrill of the open road. Its cars were more than machines. They were symbols of rebellion, performance, and American ingenuity. The loss of Dodge also marks the end of an era for muscle cars. While brands like Ford and General Motors continue to produce performance vehicles, Dodge's unique blend of raw power and bold design will be missed. The Challenger and Charger in particular have left an indelible mark on automotive history, and their absence will be felt by car enthusiasts for years to come. This cultural impact extends beyond car enthusiasts to the broader public. Dodge's cars were a fixture in popular culture, appearing in movies, television shows, and music videos. They embodied a spirit of adventure and excitement that resonated with people from all walks of life. Losing Dodge means losing a piece of that cultural fabric, a reminder of a time when cars were as much about passion as they were about practicality. The Stellantis gamble. The decision to end Dodge is more than a farewell to a legendary brand. It is a high-stakes gamble by Stellantis to reinvent itself in a world that values sustainability and innovation over heritage and tradition. With this move, Stellantis hopes to free up resources to focus on its electrification goals, banking on the idea that the future of the automotive industry is rooted in electric vehicles and alternative fuels. However, this strategy comes with significant risks. Stellantis' pivot toward electric vehicles is ambitious, but it is entering a market already dominated by established players like Tesla and increasingly competitive legacy brands like Ford and General Motors. These companies have not only embraced electrification, but have also managed to preserve the core identities of their flagship models. Ford's electric Mustang Mach-E is a perfect example of how innovation can coexist with heritage. Stellantis must now prove it can achieve similar success without Dodge, a feat that will require exceptional execution and a clear vision. At the same time, Stellantis faces mounting financial pressures. Developing electric vehicles and building the infrastructure to support them is not just costly, it is transformative. These investments could stretch the company's resources thin, particularly as it continues to deal with supply chain disruptions, rising production costs, and shrinking profit margins. Without Dodge contributing to its bottom line, Stellantis will need to rely even more heavily on its remaining brands to stay competitive. Yet the loss of Dodge could have unintended consequences. For many customers, Dodge represented a connection to the golden age of American muscle cars. By removing this link, Stellantis risks alienating a significant portion of its customer base, many of whom may turn to competitors for vehicles that offer the excitement and identity Dodge once provided. The road ahead. The end of Dodge does not just mark the closure of a chapter in automotive history, it signals a shift in the values and priorities of the industry itself. As sustainability and technology take center stage, the roaring engines and bold designs that once defined Dodge are being replaced by quiet electric motors and sleek aerodynamic silhouettes. For Dodge fans, this transition is bittersweet. The Challenger and Charger were more than cars. They were symbols of freedom, individuality, and power. Their disappearance leaves a void that will be hard to fill, both for enthusiasts and for the broader automotive culture. However, Dodge's legacy will live on in the memories of its fans, in the cars that continue to grace roads and racetracks, and in the impact it has had on the industry. As Stellantis moves forward, it faces the challenge of honoring the heritage of Dodge while pursuing a future defined by electric vehicles and innovation. Whether this gamble pays off remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the legacy of Dodge and the lessons learned from its loss will continue to shape the industry for years to come. For years to come. For years to come. For years.